Before I start this story, I want you to do something for me. Think of one person in your life you trust completely. Maybe it's a parent, a spouse, a sibling. Now imagine that person lying in a hospital bed, machines beeping, barely able to lift their hand. And imagine, while you're not in the room, someone walks in, someone who calls themselves family, and they hand your loved one a pen. That's not a hypothetical. That happened. And the person it happened to was my father. Stay with me, because this story is going to make you angry. It's going to make you sad. But I promise you, by the end, it's going to make you smarter about protecting the people you love. Let's go. My father's name was Gerald. Gerald William Hartley. Everyone called him Jerry. 71 years old, retired high school history teacher. 34 years in the classroom, teaching teenagers why the past matters, why truth matters, why doing things right matters. He was the kind of man who stopped on highways to help strangers change tires and refused the $20 they tried to give him afterward. He raised me alone after my mother died when I was 9 years old. Just the two of us, a small house on Maple Creek Drive, a house he paid off slowly, year by year, lesson by lesson. That house smelled like coffee and old books. On winter mornings before school, we'd sit at the kitchen table together, just the two of us, and eat cereal. And he would tell me something he'd learned that week. A piece of history, a fact about the world. He made me feel like the world was full of good things worth knowing. He was my whole world. When he remarried at 62 to a woman named Diane, I was genuinely happy for him. He'd been lonely. I could see it. That particular kind of quiet that settles into a house when it's only one person inside it. When Diane came into his life, his shoulders lifted. He smiled differently. Diane had 2 grown children from a previous marriage, Marcus and Tanya, both in their 40s, polite, pleasant, always said the right things at family dinners. I liked them, I trusted them. That's important. Remember that. My father had a heart attack in October, not a small one. He was rushed to St. Clement's Medical Center at 2:47 in the morning. I got the call in my sleep. I drove 90 miles in 68 minutes. I don't remember the drive. I just remember talking to myself out loud in the car. He's okay. He's going to be okay. He has to be okay. Like saying it enough times would make it true. He survived. Barely, but he survived. 12 days in the ICU, 9 more in the cardiac ward, a stent placed in his heart, blood thinners, sedatives, 6 other medications I couldn't pronounce. And something else, something the nurses warned me about. Hospital delirium. It's common in elderly patients. The artificial lights, the constant noise, the disrupted sleep cycles, the medications. The brain, under all that stress, starts to slip. Patients get confused, especially at night. They say things that don't make sense. They sign things they don't remember signing. I didn't think much about that warning at the time. I wish I had. 3 weeks after my father came home, we were sitting at the kitchen table, going through paperwork together, bills, insurance forms, that kind of thing. He mentioned it almost casually. Oh, I updated my will while I was in the hospital. Diane helped me with it. I looked at him. What do you mean, Dad? He shifted in his chair. He didn't meet my eyes, just some changes. Diane thought it made sense to reorganize a few things. Marcus brought someone to the room, a notary, to my father's hospital room, while he was on sedatives, arranged by his stepson, without his own attorney present. Without me. Long pause, let it breathe. I want you to sit with that image. A man in a hospital gown, tubes in his arm, heart monitor beeping. A man who had just almost died, confused, exhausted, medicated, and someone brought a notary into that room. Not to protect him, to use him. I didn't panic. Not immediately. I told myself there must be an explanation. Maybe it was simple stuff. Maybe I was overreacting. I am not a lawyer, but my college roommate is. Her name is Patricia Chen, 15 years in estate law. I had her number saved in my phone for years, never had a reason to use it professionally. That night I called it. I said, Patricia, I need you to be honest with me. And I told her everything. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, get me a copy of that will as fast as you can, and don't say a word to Diane or her kids yet. Getting that copy was not easy. Diane had positioned herself as the household organizer since my father came home. Files, folders, she was efficient, and she was almost always there. I waited for a Tuesday. She had groceries and book club, 3 hours. I sat across from my father at the kitchen table and I said, "Dad, I love you. I just want to make sure your wishes are protected. Can we look at the will together?" He agreed. He was nervous, but he agreed. We found it in the third drawer of Diane's filing cabinet, labeled simply Gerald Estate. I stood in that kitchen and I read it, and my stomach dropped. The original will, drawn up years ago by a proper attorney, was clear. The house on Maple Creek Drive, to me, his investment account, split between me and a charitable fund he cared about. Sentimental items designated for me specifically. The new will, the house transferred to Diane upon her death. To Marcus and Tanya, the investment account restructured, Diane in full control, my share reduced to a small, almost symbolic amount. My name was still in the document, just enough that it couldn't be called a complete erasure. But I had been, for all practical purposes, written out. The home I grew up in, the equity my father built over 30 years, gone, signed away in a hospital room while he was on a sedative drip. I took photos of every page. I put the folder back exactly as I found it. I made my father a cup of tea. I sat with him for a while. I drove home, and I sat in my car in my own driveway for 45 minutes, and I cried. I cried for my father, who had no idea what he'd signed. I cried for my mother, who never got to see what he built. I cried for the 9-year-old girl who ate cereal at that kitchen table every morning before school. Then I wiped my face, and I called Patricia. Patricia explained 2 legal concepts that would become the foundation of everything. The first, testamentary capacity. For a will to be legally valid, the person signing it must be of sound mind. They must understand what they own, who their beneficiaries are, and the full effect of what they're signing. My father in the ICU on sedatives with documented episodes of nighttime confusion, that was challengeable. The second, undue influence. When a vulnerable person, physically ill, emotionally dependent, cognitively impaired, is manipulated into changing legal documents for someone else's benefit, the will can be invalidated entirely. We had evidence, hospital records, medication logs, nursing notes describing his confusion. And the timing, a notary in a cardiac ICU arranged by stepchildren without the patient's own attorney, that alone was damning. Patricia filed a formal objection with the probate court. And then we waited. I want to tell you what that waiting period was like, because it wasn't just legal. I still had to see Diane, still had to sit at dinners. Still had to be polite to Marcus and Tanya, who smiled at me and asked how work was going, knowing what they had done. My father was in the middle of it all. When I finally told him what I'd found, gently, carefully, with Patricia on speakerphone, he went silent for a long time. Then he said, "I don't remember signing something like that." I said, "I know, Dad. I wouldn't have done that, not willingly." "I know." He started to cry, a 71-year-old man who had survived a heart attack, who had raised a daughter alone, who had spent 34 years teaching young people to care about truth. He cried at his kitchen table. Because people he loved had used his most vulnerable moment against him. Pause if you're listening to this right now, and something about this feels familiar. If you've seen something in your own family that didn't sit right, please don't look away from it. I almost did. The legal process took 8 months. Depositions, medical expert testimony, documentation. The attending cardiologist testified that during the dates in question, my father had been on medications that significantly impaired cognitive function. The nursing records showed 3 separate documented incidents of nighttime confusion surrounding the will signing. Marcus and Tanya's attorney argued my father had been lucid, that he'd wanted this. But there was a problem with that argument. My father was still alive, and he could testify. He walked into that courtroom slowly with his cane, and he told the judge what he remembered. What he didn't remember, what he never would have chosen, he said. "My daughter grew up in that house. I built it for her. I would never have given it away." The judge ruled in our favor. The new will declared invalid. Grounds: lack of testamentary capacity, undue influence. The original will reinstated. Diane and her children appealed. My father sold the house on Maple Creek Drive 2 years later. He was 73. The upkeep was too much, but he sold it himself, on his terms, with a clear mind and a proper attorney by his side. He used the money to fund a scholarship at the high school where he'd taught, in my mother's name. He and Diane separated quietly. No drama. I think he was too tired for drama. And I think he understood that something had broken that couldn't be repaired. He moved into a small apartment near my house. We have dinner together every Sunday. He still corrects my grammar. He still tips too much at restaurants. He still carries a paperback in his pocket everywhere he goes, just in case he finds a spare moment. He is still, even now, the best man I've ever known. Now, I want to talk to you for a moment, not about my father, about yours. About your mother, about whoever it is that you love and would do anything to protect. Because here is the truth that this story taught me: predators don't look like predators. They bring groceries, they organize folders, they help with paperwork. They arrange themselves into positions of trust, slowly, carefully, over years, so that when the moment comes, they are already inside the room. You don't see it coming until a notary is sitting beside a hospital bed. So here is what I want you to do this week, not someday. 1. Make sure your aging parent has their own estate attorney. Not a family attorney, not a shared one, their own. Someone whose only job is to protect that person's wishes. 2. Make sure the will is executed while your parent is healthy, clear-headed, and not under any form of pressure. The best time to do this is boring, normal, a Tuesday afternoon, not a crisis. 3. Know where the documents are. Not in someone else's filing cabinet. Somewhere your parent controls and you can access if needed. 4. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, a sudden change, a document you weren't told about, a conversation that was had without you, do not dismiss it. Make the call, get the information. I had Patricia's number in my phone for years. I almost didn't call it because I thought I was overreacting. I was not overreacting. You won't be either. My father's will is now filed with a certified estate attorney. 3 copies, 3 locations. Patricia is listed as a point of contact. I have her number still saved in my phone. I hope I never need to use it again. But I will never, ever not have it. Pause, then warmly, directly to listener: if this story stayed with you, if it made you think of someone or something you've been putting off, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the best protection we have for the people we love isn't a lawyer. It's paying attention. It's showing up. It's refusing to look away. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.